everybody doing? Yes, I know I'm greeting you because I'm normally up here hosting and welcoming you guys. Like Pastor Eric said, I'm Robbie. I'm the campus pastor here at Shoreline, and I first off want to honor Pastor Eric and Darlene because they are literally, it's serve day today, just so you guys know, it's serve day, and the topic I'm going to be talking about when it comes to serve day and what that looks like, they are the epitome of trusting God to be who He is, letting Him be who He is so that He can do what He's trying to do in and through them. So, and then in and through them, they are empowering people like me. And so I just want to thank them and honor them. It's just been so incredible especially like as I prepare something like Serve Day, this matters to me. Not just because of my role, but because of my story. And earlier this morning, this guy came up to me and we were talking and I told him, I was like, this matters to me. That might be the difference between how you might have seen me in the past, and just so you guys know. And that, like I said, Pastor Eric and Darlene, they are the epitome of walking all of this out. And so I hope it do it justice. We are in this series called Simply Irresistible, and when I think about serving, I was just so stumped because this matters to me. I also realize there's so many of us that don't serve. And I'm trying to scratch my head. Scratching my head, why doesn't everyone serve? What is that, right? It's hard for me to impart what's almost innate to me to other people. And so I was just and I'm studying and I'm trying to figure out what direction I want to go. And what I realized is that it just comes down to trust. It comes down to trust, or the lack of trust. Ever since the beginning of mankind, we've had an issue of a trust issue. We've had a broken relationship with God ever since the very first two people on earth. They were, I don't know what's going on. They started us all off on the wrong foot because they did not want to trust. They say what so many of us say, hey, I got this. I know the difference between right and wrong. I know what I want to do. You're trying to keep something from me, God. You're trying to keep something good from me. Let me do it. I got this, right? And so our relationship with God has been broken because of this issue of trust. And I wish I could say that I didn't struggle with that. I wish I could say that. I wish I could stand up here and say that even in this week, I didn't have to figure out how to fully trust in Him. But I go through that as well. And so while I was preparing, I love being able to reflect on what brought me here, plotting my journey to now, and really what started it all for me when it comes to serving at Shoreline, being a part of Shoreline Church. And so many of you might not know this, but my family and I, we've been a part of Shoreline for 10 years now. 10 years, yep. In 2009, late 2009, I had an infant son. Let's put up that photo. I had an infant son. My husband was deployed. Yeah, oh my goodness, same, a baby. I was a baby, he was a baby, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I wanted community. My husband was deployed, and he had been gone for months. Actually, he missed my son's birth, and so he had been gone, and then he still had 5 more months to go. So I was like, hey, I need to find community. And so my friend Joy, she's my neighbor. She invited me to come to Shoreline with her. And in those very beginning weeks, my very first Sunday, I carpooled with Joy. Put up Joy's photo. I carpooled with her. That's my friend Joy. She invited me to Shoreline, and I carpooled with her because, again, I was by myself with this infant. I'm not driving 30 minutes from Mary Esther to the Rave movie theater at the Commons by myself. So I'm getting in your van and riding to church with you. And so she was generous and let me ride with her. Then once I walked in, it was easy to feel at home. Like so many of you, I'm sure, when you come in, you feel at home right away. And I felt that very same thing, even in the movie theater 10 years ago. And Miss Denise, Yep, Miss Denise, yes, and Amanda, they were in the nursery that very first Sunday. Look at Amanda, that's her like last week, and she's still loving on babies. So she let me take Devin. They let me take Devin. They brought him in and let him sleep so that I can attend service, um, here at Shoreline. And so I just love these people so much. Weeks go by, and I wanted to get more involved. So I went to Discovering Shoreline, which was a luncheon or a lunch at Panera Bread at the Commons. Anyone remember that? Yes, yes. We went to Panera Bread, and I sat at the table with Carmen. And so, yep, there you go, Carmen. And we just chit chatted. She got to know me. She's so good at just like listening to people share their stories. And that's what she did with me. And I felt so comfortable, so much so that I decided, hey, I want to go and take that next step and go to a dinner so I can meet our lead pastors at someone's house. There was actually, you can put up Denise and her husband, Tim. This is another Denise. And Tim, they opened up their beautiful home to a bunch of us strangers because we were all newcomers, at this point. And they opened up their home, and I felt so warm and welcomed. And I'm like, yeah, by the end of the night, I wanted to be a part of what was happening at Shoreline. I was sure this was a place for me. And so Carmen helped me get plugged in, helped me to serve. And then I started serving in Typles. And long story short, Typles is our preschool ministry. Back then, that's what we called it. And people that know me now, they're like, what? You did preschool? You were in preschool ministry? Yeah, I know. It's because of Carmen. I'm telling you, she is not up there for no reason. She got me in there. And I ended up serving for 4 years in Typles. 4 years, and it was so cool because I had Karen doing it with me. Yeah, she was the most amazing partner, an amazing teacher. She did what she did best with developing the curriculum, and she could make anything. And I did what I did best. I helped with training, scheduling, and a lot of the coordination. And so I was able to do it for so long because of amazing Karen, and her family might be watching online this morning as well. So before I end this, especially this time in my life, Matt and Evan were so instrumental in my life. They opened up their home to me and my family time and time again. Like, we had groups, we had game nights, dinners, everything. Like, we spent holidays together back then. It was just so cool to have this amazing family. And so I just love it so much because these were people that just did what they did best, right? My friend Joy was just an inviter. She just wanted people to come along, and so she was awesome with that. Denise and Amanda, they're both just incredible nurturers. Denise always give me a hug every single week. She's just so incredible. Carmen is still an encourager. She's still an equipper. She still believes in the potential in people, and that's just what she does best. And like I said, Karen's the most amazing teacher as well. And I see with these people, I love looking back and reflecting on this, these people help to build my faith. They helped to build my confidence in God. So it made it easy for somebody like me to trust him and to get involved, to take that next step, right? I struck gold in those very, very first few months and years here at Shoreline. Part of being a pastor, I get to hear your stories, right? And you tell me about the people that have been instrumental in your life on your faith journey as well. And I love it so much. But you also start telling me how you didn't feel equipped, or you felt unprepared, or like, wait, me? Are you sure you want me? Because I learned from the best. So don't tell me you don't feel, you don't know your potential, because I'm going to try to call you up. But I know a lot of people, I hear these stories where people are like, wait, I want to get involved, but I'm not sure where's my place. This is out of my comfort zone, right? And so today I want to talk about that. I want to talk a lot about that tug of war. Should I get in, step in, get out of my comfort zone, do something that I'm not really used to? I'm not really sure I have all that it takes to do. And I would just want you to know that God wants to use that feeling, that tug of war. He wants to use that because he wants to build your faith, He really just wants to build your faith. That's why you're feeling this tension, because you're fighting against him in building a faith. Because when your faith grows, your intimacy with God grows. And he wants to pull you out of, he wants to take away everything that's trying to block you from having a relationship with him. He's a jealous God, and he just wants to be close to you, and you're letting insecurity or your lack of resources keep you from that, all right? And so you see, like, when we talk about trust, when your faith grows, your intimacy with God grows, and it's in the stretching of our faith, our confidence in God, right? Our faith is our confidence in God that gives us the type of relationship he wants to have with us, all right? So I want to look at this familiar story in the Bible. So many of us have, no matter where you are in your walk of life, you might have heard this story at least once before. And if you haven't, it's an easy story to remember from now on. You can grab the app and follow along on our service notes there. But we're going to be in Matthew 14. And just to set it up, this is right after John the Baptist was killed. All right, John the Baptist, his ministry actually proceeded, he paved a way for Jesus to come. You know, Jesus was coming, and he helped to pave the way for him and prepare the people for Jesus coming. And so he was one of Jesus' close relatives. They were so tight. So this is right after this happens. And so in this story, Jesus, he says something that really all of us kind of face. He tells us all the time when we're wrestling with our journey, our faith journey, when it relates to stepping out of our comfort zone. And so let's follow along. Matthew 14, we're going to start in verse 15. As evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a remote place and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food." All right? Jesus replied, "They don't need to go away. You give them something to eat." You give them something to eat. Like the disciples, we feel that tension where we see a need. We you know, whether it's on the news or Pastor Eric is up here talking about there's a need, or your friend expresses there's a need, or there's something happening in a community, we know there's something that needs to be done, because we're not heartless. We're not heartless people, but for whatever reason we're slow to react. We're like, hey, I'll just pray about that. I'll pray for the people that are going to do something about that, right? I'll pray that something is worked out and the right people are put in place, and you know, and you mean it. You really do mean it, and I believe you when you say that. But God says, no, you do it. You do it. Verse 17. "We have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish," they answered. Like, this is all I have. I'm unprepared. I'm unequipped. I don't have enough. What are you talking about? I can't do it. No, we're the wrong people for the job. What are you talking about? We don't have enough. And so he goes on, "Bring them here to me. Bring me the bread. Bring me the fish. Bring it here to me." I love that so much, because when you think about the disciples, they're just like us. Whenever I read about the disciples, they are literally the closest people to Jesus, and they still struggle with believing him and trusting him. They have to be reminded over and over and over again. And so he's like, move, just bring it to me. And we say this all the time, and like, wait, I don't have enough experience. He's like, okay, well, bring me this experience you do have. I didn't finish college. Cool. How long did you finish? How much do you have? 2 years? Great, bring me those 2 years. You don't have enough time? Cool. What little bit of time do you have? Bring me the little bit of time that you have. Bring me what you have. So they do. In verse 19, and he directed the people to sit down on the grass, taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gives thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. So imagine you're a disciple and I hate when I'm throwing a party. I'm always worried about having enough food. Anyone else? You want to have enough food. It's such a drag to run out of food, right? And so imagine you're one of the disciples and he's passed out the food to you and you only have this little bit in front of you. You're like, wait, we're about to be so embarrassed. We're going to run out of food. What? No, I don't want to run out of food. But they, like I said, they had been around Jesus long enough to know that something unusual was about to happen, something only he could do, right? So they're like, okay, I'll just serve the food that I have. And so they turn around and they go and serve the food that they had, right? And so imagine you're one of them. And this is what God is telling us, guys. Do what only you can do and trust God to do what only he can do. This is what he's saying, like, hey, I got this. You just do what you can do, all right? And so God wants to do something in you. He wants to do something in your faith walk so badly. He doesn't want anything to come between you two whatsoever. And so when I consider the stories that people share with me all the time, I consider the stories of the people that serve here or the people that come here or they impact their community or they influence their coworkers. It comes down to this. Do what only you can do and trust God to do what only he can do. And then you're like the 12 disciples and you come out on the other side witnessing a miracle. The 12 disciples are the only ones that were able to witness it because the 5,000 and some odd people, like more than that, right? And so many more people than 5,000, they didn't know. They just knew they had food. They had food. But when you step out of your comfort zone, when you trust him to do what only he can do, then that's where the miracle happens. And that's what they got to be a part of because it goes on in 20 and 21 where everyone was satisfied and the disciples, they were able to pick up 12 basketfuls of leftovers. That was a good party. That was a good get together. It's like, here, you take home some food. You take home some food. Everybody take home. We have enough food left over. So if you're here today or if you're watching online, did you know that you are benefiting from a group of people who did just that? They are people that stepped out of themselves, stepped out of their insecurity, and said, here's a little bit that I have. Here's a little bit that I have. And anywhere you see God moving or the people of God moving, that is the story. That's my story. Let me take a drink. We're good? All right, so I remember over a year ago, Pastor Eric and Darlene pulled me into the office. I know. Quinn was here first service. I'm like, remember that? Pastor Tracy Lilly was with them. And I sit down and they're like, hey, so we want to ordain you like this week. And we want to assign you as campus pastor. I wish I could say that over the last 15 months, I did not second guess that decision. Like, wait, what are you guys thinking? This is one of Pastor Eric's cruel, long, drawn-out jokes. Like, please, no, wait, what are you guys doing? Do you know what you're doing? And I'm telling you, there's times where it comes up, it sneaks up, even for me, those dark times, those dark thoughts. But then I get to remember all the people, like those photos that I showed. Those are all the people that paved the way for me in order for me to get to do this. This is what I get to do. And I love it so much. It's so cool because those people, they did what only they could do. And I bet you they had to push past their own crap in order to serve and support me on that very first Sunday, those very first months, and me at Shoreline. They had to push past. They had to decide to trust God. They had to decide to get out of their comfort zone just as well in order to be a part of my story. And so this is why I do what I do, right? Aren't you glad that there are people that did that for you? Like they went out of their comfort zone. They stepped out of their insecurities so that they could serve you. Aren't we, like, you guys get to experience this amazing service, this beautiful building, the people, the atmosphere, what we're doing in our community, all because people like those people stepped outside in order to serve themselves or in order to serve you. Each week we have over 100 people. I mean, some weekends it's like 150 people that serve here every single Sunday. If you serve here, raise your hand. Yes, I love it so much. Thank you guys so much. There are students, business owners, single parents, retired couples. There are people who are fighting illness. There are people in between jobs. There are airmen. Stay-at-home moms. There's so many different people that serve here. There are people that grew up in church, and there are people that are still on the fence about God, that get up every single Sunday and come early, brew the coffee, hug on babies, turn on the lights, play the drums, and they just do what only they can do. They just do what only they can do. And I want to share some of those stories of unsung heroes. I love that we get to celebrate. I had to cut out some stories. I couldn't share all the stories, but I want to share some of them because these people should be celebrated for sure. So first we have that when I asked them, like, hey, what's the impact of serving? And here's what they said. The real question is, why did it take me so long? I'm not sure, especially since several wonderful people asked me to do it and I put it off. The impact of serving others has somehow made me much happier even at work. My lead has noticed that over the past year and asked me what changed. And they said, I told him serving in my church and in the community. This person who shared this with me, I was one of those people that invited them to serve over and over and over again, and I know other people have as well. This is a pretty big deal, especially for them, but I remember when I first started serving last year during Easter, and the rest is history, and I love that, she's seeing impacts on other parts of her life, right? Next we have, I serve because it makes my heart happy, knowing that I am helping others in many different ways and hoping they feel amazing, how amazing Christ's love is. I felt nervous because I normally don't do very well in front of large groups of people. I also felt nervous because I didn't want to mess up in front of people. I struggle with being confident in decisions that I make. Knowing I am showing his love means the world to me. He has shown me so much love, I want to share it with everyone I meet. I serve because, and this is another one, I serve because I love staying busy by helping other people around me. This person, they said, I remember when Russ and Mike asked me to serve, and it took 8 years. 8 years. Now, I'm telling you, they're up there in 8 years. Their biggest insecurity was that they didn't feel good enough to actually help. Serving has completely changed me. I'm no longer going to church because I'm supposed to. I'm coming because I want to learn about the Word of God while helping and being around like-minded friends. Can we give those people a hand? Because they are so brave. Yeah. They are so brave. And I want to tell you something. They're not super Christians. Who's a super Christian here? They're not super Christians. These are people just like you who saw a need and they did something about it. They did what only they could do. Because I know who they are. I've seen firsthand how their faith has been developed and matured and stretched, right? And I've seen firsthand how they have helped to develop and mature the faith of other people. And so he's not asking for ability. He is only asking for availability. Would you just be available? Just be available. At Shoreline, we believe there's a seat for everyone at the table. And if I could sum it up, there's 3 ways we want to partner with you. There's other ways, but for the sake of time, I'm going to highlight 3 ways we want to partner with you on your faith journey when it comes to inspiring more and more people to follow Jesus this year. That's part of what our mission is this year. Pastor Eric told us earlier this year, he's like, hey, we want to inspire more and more people to follow Jesus. So here's how you can be a part of that. First, at Shoreline, everyone can be involved and everyone can be equipped. All of us. I know we're talking about serving, but I want to challenge you. Pastor Eric told me this past week that there's a stat. Most people attend service 1.2 times a month. For you, being involved might show up 3 times a month. I give you another. You can have that 4th week and you go to the beach or you go take a trip or you just stay home, but being more involved might be just coming more consistently. That might be your next step. I realize not everyone, if I'm talking about serving, you're like, wait, I'm not even there yet. I'm only here one Sunday. I can't serve and attend. You're right. I'm with you. So maybe show up more consistently. I love that this year we're focusing on activating more leaders to follow Jesus. And we have so many opportunities like worship nights. We have time in the morning to pray with each other. These are opportunities for us to be activated together. We want to equip you, and we give you time and space to do that here at Shoreline. Prayerfully, the staff is considering discipleship pathways over the next year, and one of which will be a new curriculum that's church-wide for all of us to be a part of, for us to learn more about Jesus, more about our life, having a dynamic, active church life, or life with Jesus, what that might look like, and it's called Rooted. Look out for that because that might be something that you'll be interested in if you want to take that next step to get more involved. More will come out about that strategically over the next year. Next, at Shoreline, our ceiling will be your floor. Yes, success for me is building a platform for other people to lead. This isn't, like I said, Pastor Eric and Darlene, they are some of the best about empowering people so generously. And I want to do that for other people. I want to erase and eliminate the leadership lid. I believe there are talented, creative, innovative people that are sitting in here, and you're just waiting in the wings. You're waiting for that right opportunity. Well, this is your right opportunity. We would love to partner with you. We would love to activate you to help you reach your real, true potential, because the sky's the limit, truly. At Shoreline, you can serve with me. This one is twofold because Jesus has been saying this. He said it to the disciples, like, bring it here, I'll do it with you. And they were able to see this miracle happen. So he's saying the same thing, like, hey, you can serve with me. Don't try to do this by yourself. Don't try to do this on your own or by your own, with your own limitations and all that. Like, let's get hooked up together. Serve with me. Secondly, you can serve with me. If you're serving, I saw all those hands earlier. You guys were saying, hey, I serve. I want to challenge you. If you currently serve, would you invite your friend, your spouse, your family, someone you meet to serve with you? Will you invite them? Because like I said, there are some high capacity leaders that are not going to volunteer. They're not. You know why? Because in the industry that they work in the community, they're high capacity and dynamic. They didn't volunteer. They were probably recruited. People search for them high and low in order to invite them to be a part of their organization. So we want to be a dynamic organization here at Shoreline. So I want to challenge you to invite some of those movers and shakers in your community, because this is the best place to do it. This is the best place to do it. So will you serve with me? Do you want to be a part of someone's faith journey by asking them to serve with you? You get to be a part of their story. Pastor Eric will explain a little bit more about how to sign up for a team here in a minute. But like I said, we're not gonna go 0 to 100 just like that. That's not necessary. Will you just take a step, just one step towards him, towards trusting him, towards stepping out of your comfort zone. It might be uncomfortable, but will you trust him? Will you be willing to trust him? Because I believe that he's right there waiting for you. I believe also that, you're not as far as you think you are from God. Nobody is as far as they think they are from God. It's not too late. You don't have to do too much. Just give him your little bit. I want to wrap up by looking in 2 Corinthians 12. And this is all about, this is a letter from Paul, and he's trying to explain about the tug of war and the difficulty between strengths and weaknesses. He's going back and forth, and he described this thorn in his side. He's like, he has this thorn in his side. He has something in his life that he asked God 3 different times to remove. Have you been there, like, where you're like, remove this. I don't really remember this. This is holding me back. Let me push this back, right? And we don't even know what the thorn is. And I love that we don't know what the thorn is because it helps us to relate to him. Your thorn is different than his thorn. Your thorn might be family history, lack of finances, education, time. You might be working 2 or 3 jobs and you don't have time, right? Whatever that thorn is, God's not taking it away. He's not taking it away. And here's what Paul realized. So Paul requested the thorn to be removed, and God responds, will you serve with me? He says, will you serve with me? Verse 9, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Paul knew the deal, and it shifted his perspective. Shifted his perspective so much so that he decided, he's like, hey, I'm going to boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in my weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in difficulties and persecutions. That's why I get out of my comfort zone. That's why I get a little bit uncomfortable. That's why I do something I've never done before. That's exactly why, because for when I am weak, then I am strong. He knew that he had to get hooked up with Jesus. He had to get hooked up with Jesus, of course. Like, it's easy. We all have limitations. We all have thorns in our sides. We all have thorns in our side, but the weaker we get, the stronger we become. God's grace is just the right amount for God's purpose in your life. We have a chance to trust him. Some of us, for the very first time ever, trusting him in this way, trusting him with our limitations, trusting him with our past, to use it in a significant way. Will you do what only you can do? Will you do what only you can do and trust God to do what only he can do? Will you do that? Will you answer the call of, will you serve with me? He's saying, will you serve with me? Will you step out of your comfort zone a little bit more? Just one next step. Let's pray. God, we just love you so much. We honor you. It's such a privilege to be able to be in relationship with you. And the cool thing is that you want to be in relationship with us. You want to eliminate anything that is trying to block us from relationship with you. It might be our insecurities. It might be lack of resources. Might be our perspective. You want to eliminate it so that we can have real, true, authentic, loving, generous, lavish love that only you can give. We just teach us how to trust you, teach us how to depend on you, because when we are weak, you make us stronger. And so, I don't know, I just pray that anyone that's here this morning, that this isn't just about Serve Day at Shoreline. This is about life change for all of you. This is about life change and perspective change for all that you're a part of. Just hook up with Jesus. Will you serve with him? We love you. We honor you. We submit to you. In Jesus' name, amen.